As an educator, my goal is to create learning communities using Web 2.0 tools that break down the barriers that isolate students. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is with this project called What's Your Daily Takeaway? In this project, my students post what they took out of a class using Twitter to the hashtags Daily Takeaway and to EdSec150DTA, which is the course. Now in this one you can see that the 4 students took a lot out of class. One of the students up top said segregation is still a thing, in case you guys were wondering. Okay, the model that I used to decide how I was going to go about this was the Assure model. And I like Assure because it's more heuristic in nature and it begins with analyzing the learners instead of figuring out, okay, this is the problem. What I'm trying to do is understand my learners in the context in which they learn, then look at the standards, the objectives, how I want them to obtain those through selecting strategies and the technology and media I want to use, and then we go in about and try the lesson, and then we're constantly evaluating and revising. And this project lent itself very well to that. Within the characteristics of my students, they are all undergraduates, and the majority of them have experience with Facebook. However, most of them have no experience using other Web 2.0 tools or thinking about how to use these tools in a classroom setting for educational purposes. So what I wanted to do was use these Web 2.0 tools that they're not very familiar with, including Twitter, to help them set up a professional Twitter account and handle so that they could then think about ways that they can incorporate these things in their class, but first summarizing the learning experiences from the class sessions and putting those learning experiences or a summary of them onto our class daily takeaway page with the hashtag. And then they're also learning how to search topics. For example, right now there is a lot of civil unrest due to the jury deciding not to indict the officers involved in the death of Eric Gardner. Therefore, what my students can do is search hashtag Eric Gardner or hashtag whatever else they want to use to figure out what's going on. So it's a way of tracking the news. They're also learning how to use Twitter both in their personal and professional lives and as teachers in their future classroom. And the whole important goal of all of this is to constantly be reflecting and analyzing their growth and what they're learning. So they can actually go back and follow their tweets and see, wow, I've learned this, or I've grown in this way, or and see how their peers have also grown. Now the way that I'm going to implement this is I'm going to create an interactive online website that has 5 main pages, as you can see here. And through these pages there are the green are activities, okay, from welcoming to how, defining what a daily takeaway is to why use Twitter. Okay, at the bottom of most of these is going to be a formative assessment, which is the red boxes. And after those, you would go up to the next area, so going from the home page to what's your daily takeaway, the concept, why Twitter, the Twitter fundamentals, and self and peer evaluation. So they're also given access to the rubric and they are able to complete self-evaluations, peer evaluations, and then they're also able to use my evaluation with a reflective summary. Now this rubric that we'll use for assessment focuses primarily on content, but we're also concerned about the timeliness, because if you wait in Twitter, the world has already passed you by. So we want them to be tweeting in a timely fashion. We also want to make sure that when they're shortening words that they're done in both a professional way and in a way that's understandable. Now the question is this working? I'd like to think that it is, even though it has not been fully implemented yet. So we have the EdSec150DTA and the hashtag 150, and we can see that this student is learning that how problems evolve within the wicked problem context. We also can see here that there's a student that's showing her work in group work, and this student being recognized, how good she feels about being recognized for her work in class. So my question to you is, from this short video, what's your takeaway? I believe this can start a movement because learning is an individualized, visceral experience that is much more than a product or a single test score, because it is a process, one that teaches every one of us in a deeply individual manner. So I'd like to invite you to tweet your own takeaway from this video at Daily Takeaway, hashtag Daily Takeaway on Twitter. Thanks.